I'm gonna can some things for the first time in my life. Probably going to stress myself out doing it because there are so many different ways of preserving food. And depending on the food, there are so many different ways of preserving that kind of food. So I'm kind of just gonna go with my instincts and what looks the easiest and for me. So that's what we're gonna do. I really love Acre Homestead, Roots and Refuge. I have found a few other channels that have some great preparation videos, preserving videos. So that's what we're gonna do. I have some tomatoes from the garden, and I have some green peppers. I have some small little cucumbers. Anyway, I'm just gonna go with the flow and hope that and pray that this works. I have some things that I bought from multiple places to help me with this process. The big one being cans. And then there are some things back here that I also purchased. So we have these, like, you know, the special canning funnel, the jar lifter, the lid lifter. So that one's by Starfrit, and I think I paid like 15 bucks for this. And then some salt for pickling, because I have these cute little cucumbers that I think I'm gonna just make a jar of pickles with. And of course we have 1 liter jars, because I think I'm gonna put the tomato sauce in these. And what else do I have? I bought some pectin. That there were 2 options. There was just like regular pectin, and then this one where there's no sugar needed. So this is gonna help me make jams and jellies. And then I purchased some lids. I have wide mouth lids, and then these ones are regular mouth. So there's some labels that come in this box, which is handy. And then also down here at the very bottom, I have, I don't know if you can see, but I have saved some jars. And these ones I've had before, but I have these ball leak-proof plastic lids, which I don't know are gonna be used today. I don't know if these are just like lids to kind of keep dry goods or for the fridge. I'm not sure if it actually, these lids help with preserving for long periods of time. Yeah, wish me luck and let's learn together. So what I'm gonna do is just do an X, and that way they are gonna be easier. So I'm just boiling about I have a 7-liter quart pot, and I filled it about halfway, and I'm just gonna boil the water. And as the water is boiling, I am taking the stems off the tomatoes and cutting an X at the top of them. And apparently what that's gonna do is when I boil these tomatoes for about 30 to 60 seconds, this X, when I pull them out, will make it easier for me to peel the tomato. Now, any tomatoes that are kind of rotting, I'm gonna just cut that area off and eat today with like my dinner or lunch or whatever. I'm not going too deep. I think you're just supposed to cut an X like very lightly. I'm not washing my tomatoes. I mean, maybe you have to do that. I don't. It doesn't bother me if there's a little bit of dirt. I'm gonna throw them in the boiling water anyway and peel the skin off, so I feel like that's just an unnecessary step. Okay, so it looks like the water is boiling now. Perfect time to pop those tomatoes in. I'm gonna throw these tomatoes in, probably a few at a time, and then I also have these. These didn't make it, so I'm just gonna eat these for dinner. And these green tomatoes I'm gonna can as well, but I have to pick more from the garden. And these peppers I'm probably gonna eat later for dinner as well. So let's get blanching. So I'm gonna put some tomatoes in this little colander and then slowly drop them in. And it's 3:45, so at 3:46 I'll take them out and put them in this bowl, which I think I'm gonna put, it's called cold water bath. So I'm gonna put some cold water in here and then pop those tomatoes in here and then peel them. So it's been a minute. I'm gonna take these tomatoes out with this colander. Just make sure that the water drains. And then I'm gonna pop them in the cold water. I can already tell that some of the skin is peeling off, which is a good sign. So I just want to show you what it looks like when I peel it. Even though it went in the cold water. Now here's the thing, I don't know if you're supposed to leave them in there and then they peel automatically. Oh God, am I doing this wrong? Or like, what if I have to leave them in there for a few minutes and then peel them? I'm kind of peeling off the bat once they're dumped in. Maybe I have to wait a few minutes. Yeah, I think you have to wait a few minutes before you decide on peeling them. It's just a lot easier. They fall off really easily at that point. I think if you go immediately from cold water to peeling, it just doesn't work that well. So I would say leave them in the cold water the same amount of time you leave them in the hot water, like a minute or two. See how it's just kind of falling off at this point? I'm not really having to put much work into it. I can tell you that if you forget to mark an X on these tomatoes, that peeling them is going to be a lot more difficult, because already with an X, it's kind of, it's just a bit tedious, like, so I feel like that's definitely a necessary step. Okay, so I just came up with a brilliant idea, and I think I'm just gonna crack some ice into this bowl, so that way, because I have a lot of tomatoes right now blanching, so I think I don't want the water to become warm or hot once I dump them in, so I think I'm just gonna put a whole ice pack in there, and that'll help with keeping the water cold. I think putting this tray underneath was a brilliant idea, because the tomatoes splashed everywhere, and that way it's just easier for cleanup. So next on the list is peeling these. That's the remaining tomatoes that are blanched, and then I'm gonna let them sit here for a few minutes, see how they're kind of splitting, and then we're gonna core them, slice them up, and Then I'm going to boil the lids in this little guy and wash these cans with soap and water. I feel like I'm gonna need maybe 6 cans for these tomatoes, but I'm going to wash those and set them aside, and then we can start the next step. So I have here 4 1-liter jars that I'm going to just wash with some hot water and some soap. So I'm just gonna pop these, I'll show you. Pop the lids and the rims in here. Just a small pot of some water. I'm gonna let those boil. And then while that's happening, I'm going to wash these. So now I have to core the tomatoes that are blanched and peeled. And I'm just going to kind of break them, break them apart with a knife loosely, and then throw away the core piece in the garbage, which is set up right next to me. I believe you want to save the tomato juices as well when you can everything. You can even break these up with your hand. Whatever makes most sense to you. I honestly think with my hands is better. Depends, like if you want to keep the tomatoes whole, then maybe core them with a little tool, that kind of like when you can core apples. That way the shape stays intact, right? But I'm mostly gonna use this for pasta sauce, tomato sauce. You can use gloves. I'm assuming I'm just kind of going in there and throwing that piece out. Now I am learning as I go, but those are all the tomatoes and it fit in this bowl and I thought it wouldn't. So I came out with more of a sauce, which I'm totally okay with. It was just easier. And again, brilliant idea to have a pan underneath what you're doing. Instead of throwing out those pieces, what was easier for me was just kind of plopping them on the pan and then I'll throw them out after. I'm going to keep this as well along with this, and we are going to, I stopped the stovetop for here just because these were bubbling for a while, so they're definitely good to go. The next step is to pour those tomatoes in these jars. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so this is kind of what I have prepared right now. The 4 jars, I don't know if I'm going to need all of these. I might need more, I'm not sure. But I have the colander here. I have the, what is this? Spoon, big spoon, to grab this, pour it in here. I don't know why I'm nervous to do this, but I am. I feel like you really can't mess up this part now. Whatever, I'm just gonna have fun with it, Catherine. Don't stress. Okay, so we have the funnel, and I'm going to scoop the tomatoes and pour it in the jar. Maybe I should do the closest one. 2. Okay, so now I'm gonna add a tablespoon of salt. This is the salt for pickling and preserving. No additives for a perfectly clear pickling liquid. So there's no iodine in this salt. Apparently that tends to darken your food. Some people don't mind, some people do. I just am following the rules of these experts, so I just picked up this one, but I feel like you could get away with Himalayan salt, table salt, whatever have you. So because these are 1 liter jugs or 1 liter jars, I'm going to need a tablespoon of lemon juice and a tablespoon of salt in each jar. So that's what we're going to use. One tablespoon of salt, and then 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And I think I can get away with adding a bit more in here. I feel like I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, okay. Next jar. Oh my god, this is so much fun. Okay. I'm trying to get a balanced amount of tomato chunks and the juice. I'm mixing the cans using a wooden spoon to release any air bubbles that are in here. And now I'm going to just clean the edges. Okay. And then the next step is to grab these lids, dry them off, and then place them in the center. So now that the lids are placed on and centered, we are going to twist the rims on. Okay, so my camera died on me, but what I was saying is we are just standing up these cans on this pan here, and then we're gonna jump them in the oven. So I'm going to pop these in here. This is kind of nerve-wracking, not gonna lie. And I'm gonna close this. We're going to set the oven at 300. We're going to set it for 30 minutes. Oh no. And then when it reaches 300 is when we set the timer for 30 minutes. Yes. Then we turn it off and leave it inside until the next day. Okay, so it's the next day. Now, yesterday I had left the tomatoes in the oven. I feel, okay Google, stop. This is kind of how it turned out. So, I mean, time will tell if this actually worked. I'm gonna store it in my pantry, and I was prepared to fail. So if these end up failing, molding, rotting, discoloring, then I'll have an idea as to maybe going over a different method or retracing my steps. But I got 3 cans out of the tomatoes, and this one, as you can see, is about halfway. So I think I'm not going to put this in the pantry. I'm just going to keep it in the fridge and cook with it sometime in the next couple weeks. And then what else did I do? I also did This was the next thing I canned, which was our green tomatoes. And I used a little bit of a different method doing this. I also did Concord grape jam, and I got 2 cans out of this. Again, used a different method, but seemed to have worked. So I'm excited to try that. And then I also pickled some radishes and some small cucumbers that we had. So that's so far what I have accomplished. So that's it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed and learned something, and if anything, this encourages you to take on a new skill set, whether it be preserving food or learning how to run a marathon. I appreciate you watching this video, and I just want you to know that you are appreciated, you are loved, and you are enough. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, take care, friends. Bye.